Hello everyone, welcome to another Spoilercast. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
Today, Eric sounds like he's a little blue, and I can only imagine why. Today, we're going to be talking about the latest DC direct-to-video animated movie, per our tradition from years and years ago, and we're still doing these. It's Batman and Harley Quinn.
I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Yeah.
We don't do boards on this. But if we did do boards, my board would say, embarrassing.
This movie made you feel like it was embarrassing?
I think it's embarrassing for everyone involved.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so as well. There are bits and pieces about this that I like.
One.
Overall, there's things, there are things. But overall, it's a cluster, yes? This thing doesn't know what it is, what it wants to be. It's incredibly self-indulgent, and it makes... I want to cry when I say this. It makes me wish that Bruce Timm had retired. Because his track record now is rough, because he's made 2 movies in a row now that not only have been not anything like befitting of his history with his character and the level of storytelling we had. I mean, they had lots of hit and miss stuff in the DCAU, but overall, it was, of course, really good.
He should have retired with Gods and Monsters.
But he, yeah, and I mean, like, he's been kind of semi-retired. It's not like he does these all the time, but it seems like he's kind of, like, back in the saddle right now.
I think he puts out one a year. I think there's one a year that he does.
Because for a while there, he was just kind of retired, and he was like, I'm gonna come back and do something. You talk about a TV show.
Well, and everyone thought Gods and Monsters was going to be a TV show, but then it turned out to not be.
Well, that just confused people because it had, like, that miniseries thing, and people thought that was supposed to be a TV show, but it wasn't. But that online thing with shorts, but we're getting off track. Not only have the last 2 things he's done been unbefitting of Bruce Timm, but because I mean we hold him to a particular standard. I think a lot of us, but they've been offensively bad. Like, not just bad, they've hurt my feelings, and this is just as bad as Killing Joke.
Oh, I think this
well, this is like if Killing Joke... I mean, it's not the same thing, but as far as the offensively bad part, it's like if Killing Joke had been the Batgirl part the whole movie.
Yeah.
Where should we even begin? Let me start with the big... Because I'm sorry, we hated this, and I'm going to rip this to pieces. Let me start with the stuff I liked. Can we start there?
Yeah.
So once again, this is Spoilercast. We hope you've watched this before you talk about this.
Well, you've all been dying.
You've not watched this at all.
You've all been dying for us to talk about this, so I assume you've all seen this.
By the way, before we even get into that part of it, I would like to reiterate something, because we got a lot of messages on Twitter and Facebook saying, "How come you guys haven't talked about this yet?
Are you ever going to do this?"
Yeah, and we got that. Are you ever going to do it? Here's the thing. First of all, we have committed to this. No matter how bad these get, we will continue to review them as long as they put them out. We've gone this far. We might as well. If this didn't break us, nothing will. And I mean, really, I want to cry. This kind of hurt my feelings. And walking into it, I expected not to like it because people warned us about it.
Yep.
And they warned us about specific scenes. We knew about the fart scene. I mean, there were like specific scenes we were warned about. Nothing could have prepared me for this movie. So if this didn't break us,
we're gonna do it.
I mean, it might get broken. No, I mean, I don't do that, but this is one of the few things that I have ever bought where I'm like, if this didn't break us, nothing will. But we will continue to do this. But the thing is, these are released 2 weeks before.
Sometimes I think 3.
No, it's always 2.
It's always 2?
They're released 2 weeks. You're thinking that because of the theatrical release, which they put out before even
well,
digital,
also maybe just
or maybe it was right with digital.
The amount of messages. It just felt like longer, maybe?
Well, and they tend to get leaked, so some people might have seen them even before the digital came out.
Okay.
Because remember, that used to be a thing where people would add, even before they did the digital release first, before they put out the hard copy.
Yeah, they would always be out a couple weeks earlier on.
People would say, you guys should go ahead and review it. It's on the torrent. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to review it when it's not official. But we wait until we get the hard copy, because, of course, I buy these for my collection, so I don't want to really double dip and have to pay for the digital and then pay for this. So
like this.
Yeah, so we're not doing that. So as soon as it's out on a physical copy, we review them. So there's that little cleanup clerical stuff.
And they're released on digital 2 weeks ahead of time.
Yeah. So here are the things, the main things I liked about this, and there are little bits and pieces, bits of dialogue and gags and things that I'll mention that I thought
there's
were okay
a gag here or there that
got
a chuckle from one or both of us.
Because I don't want to be unfair and be like, well, here are the two things I liked. There was this one gag and this other gag. I'm going to give you the broad strokes. The big here's what I liked about this. It looks good. Through and through, animation is fine. There's very little I have to complain about with the animation. You had a couple of nitpicky things that you mentioned while we watched it.
I think it looks a little flat, and I don't think it.
And I don't know what you're talking about.
And I don't think it looks exactly like the
it doesn't
original.
Look exactly like it. It doesn't have to. It isn't that, and like I'm fine with that.
Okay.
The fact that it's, and I'm gonna assume that this is not a canonical thing. I mean, we had this with Mystery of the Batwoman where I thought it wasn't, and then I looked it up, and there's
this can't be.
People don't know. People haven't seen that video yet. It's part of Batman.
Yeah.
We haven't posted those yet, but that'll be later on.
I'll give the biggest compliment I can. This is the best Cars that they have done in about 10 years.
Yeah, no, that's true. It absolutely is. No, I think it. Okay, me personally, I like what it looks like. I think it's kind of a cool update of animated series. I actually like what it looks like quite a bit, and I think Kevin Conroy sounds wonderful.
It's the best he's sounded probably since the end of the Arkham games,
and he's surprisingly authentic. Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to compare it to other work he's done outside of animated series. I have seen DCAU stuff, especially later on, where he sounded like he sounded off. Like he was either not excited to be there, phoning it in, or it didn't sound like the performance he gives for this Batman. He went back and gave his 1997 season 4 performance, that impressed me.
The only time he's off,
especially with some of this material, because he's so out of character.
The only time I think he's off is when there's lines of dialogue that I don't know if he can get his mouth around.
He delivers them the best he can, but what I'm impressed with is he doesn't sound his age, and there are times that he does.
Yeah.
And in Arkham, he sounds that way because he is an older Batman, and he should. But sometimes that even comes out in things where he's not. And I'm like
Killing Joke.
Yeah, or even the, and I haven't watched much of this, but even Justice League Action, like, I feel like he doesn't sound...
Like, if he gave this performance in Killing Joke, I wouldn't have been
but,
annoyed by him.
Yeah, well, yeah, but again, you don't want to give the Batman animated series performance. You want to do something a little bit different with it, and that's the reason he shouldn't have been that Batman. I'm not going to say anything against Kevin Conroy as Batman in that movie because he shouldn't have been cast in that movie. I'm just saying that I don't want to compare it to performances that aren't animated series.
Okay.
The point I'm trying to make is it's authentically animated series, and that's impressive.
As is Nightwing.
Yeah, and Nightwing's great, and I don't think we've had him in eons.
I don't think so either.
So we'll talk about the Harlequin voice. I do not understand why we did that. I don't understand why. Not just that it was such a different voice, but that you've got two to choose from. That you wouldn't if you can't get Arlene Sorkin for whatever reason. At the very least, get Tara Strong. I don't understand that. It's really bizarre that you would reinvent it for this material, but this is a really bizarre piece anyway.
Regardless of how we feel about the voice, which we'll get into,
yeah,
it's not the animated series voice. Not
remotely. Yeah, I mean it's a reinvention, but the character it isn't supposed to be a reinvention. The other thing that I'll bring up that I liked is the up until the third act, the villain plot was okay. Yeah. Like I didn't totally, I didn't hate it.
It was a little paint by numbers, but it was fun.
Yeah, but it was fine. I thought the not Swamp Thing guy was really fun.
Floronic Man.
Yeah, thank you. I just can't remember that. But yeah, Floronic Man, I thought he was fun. One thing that I was really impressed with actually was...
How can you not remember Floronic Man? It rolls off the tongue.
It opens up... It's just not a word that's general. It's in my regular everyday vocabulary.
Well, that's because you're from this dimension.
I see. That was so weird. It's like when Batman picks up that leaf and he's like, it's not even from this dimension. I'm like, ooh.
It's nth plant.
The movie opens and we have Floronic Man and I'm like, oh, Swamp Thing. Wait, no, that's not Swamp Thing. And I had seen a preview of this, so I knew it wasn't Swamp Thing, but I had that brief moment where I was like, oh, Swamp Thing. And then because they know you're going to have that reaction, they do Swamp Thing, and even though that whole thing didn't really play real well for me at the end, and it's a weird, I don't want to say a double beat, but it's weird because one of these recently used him. It's not a Bruce Timm one, but you know what I mean? Like, we're so Swamp Thing happy right now. That whole thing at the end didn't really work, but I was kind of impressed with, I get sometimes kind of excited when I have a reaction to something in a movie, and the movie is in tune enough with itself that it knows I'm going to react that way, so it plays on it. I really like that, and that's a real old school animated series kind of trick, and I thought that was really cool.
I don't need Swamp Thing at the end of this, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But
I mean, we knew we would get him. I
didn't.
Okay. Well, then you're kind of naive. They're not gonna name Holland and not do Swamp Thing, and they go to Louisiana, and that's where he is. And I mean, just they're gonna do it.
I wasn't putting that together with the Louisiana, but no, I thought they had class, and they were just
named the swamp where he always is. Like,
yeah, I just thought they were being cool and like, okay, if you know who Swamp Thing is, you know that he's Alec Holland. So this fake out is just for you, and then we're gonna name drop Alec Holland, and that would have been great.
See,
I would have respected that.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a problem, though. I just didn't like the way it played, but I don't think the fact that they used him is a problem, because I think you read it differently than I did. From the very beginning, it seemed like we were building to a Swamp Thing.
I thought it was just a fun throwaway thing.
No, okay. All right. That's not what I thought. I thought they were intentionally telling us we're going to get the Swamp Thing eventually.
Well, I did too, and then, like, as the movie went on, I was like, oh, we're not doing that. I guess I wasn't thinking about the Louisiana
but, like,
thing.
You can track it. All the way through, we're on our way to Swamp Thing. Now, maybe they played it as too much of a reveal at the end, but I think it was supposed to play more as, like, a reveal for our characters than for the audience. But I also really like that, like, this is not until the middle paced horribly. Once we get into that bar, all bets are off. But before that, the pacing's pretty good. And we just recently, again, for Batmania, which we'll post later, we recently did Batwoman, where I'm just, it's a slog, and I'm just going, why am I supposed to care about any of these characters? I didn't have that with this until later. But like early on, I'm tracking the mystery. Batman's doing detective stuff. I'm interested enough. And the thing I was really impressed with is that it opens with an action scene that doesn't go on for 60 years
and is integral to the plot,
and doesn't even have our heroes in it. It's just Poison Ivy and Floronic Man break into this place and get information. That's all it is. It's a basic movie teaser. Yeah. I also like the opening title sequence, but that's part of what ends up confusing the movie. Like makes it look like it has a real confused identity. I wanted that movie. And didn't have that. So anyway, anything that you actually liked about this that you want to throw up front before we just rip it to pieces?
Well, I mean, you didn't get to your biggest like of the movie, which is Floronic Man.
Well, and I said that. I mean, I said he's really fun. I really liked him.
Okay. No, I think we touched on everything that is worth saying is good in this movie.
I mean, again, I didn't mention, like, specific moments.
No, and none are coming to me off the top of my head, but, like, there was a couple of gags. I was like, ha!
The thing that really cracked me up was the yam thing. I really liked that scene. I thought that was really funny.
And the meat skank.
Yeah.
That one was...
Meat everything.
Meat everything.
I mean, whenever he's talking about meat, it's really funny. I liked him a lot.
Yeah.
And he struck me as, like, a Justice League villain.
Yeah.
You know, he could have been in that show. He wouldn't have said skank, but he could have been in that show. I don't know if even we should be saying that word on Geekvolution.
Yeah, I thought before I said it, I was like, well, it's in the movie.
I've now said it. You're welcome, folks. Anyway, so...
Look, we don't know who this video is for, because we don't know who this movie is for.
So starting right away, here's the thing. Everything that I did, not everything, most of what I disliked in this movie, at least in a broad scoping way, I knew I was going to end up with, and I thought I was prepared for it. And this movie is so rough that it was just as bad or worse because I knew it was coming.
Well, and there is a point where you're like, and now it's lost me.
Yep.
You were like, I've been giving it the benefit of the doubt, I've been going with it, and then it lost me.
Should we just go right in and talk about what that was?
Sure.
Do you remember what it was?
I do remember what it was.
Okay, so it's the bit where Harley Quinn decides to seduce Nightwing. And what's interesting is, before that, you were like, I don't like all this blood and violence mixed in with my animated
It's not the blood and violence.
And
I don't mind the blood and violence because they were always pushing that boundary.
Right, yeah. I thought that's what you were talking about when you said that.
I don't like the crass language.
Yeah, right.
With this animation,
But I thought the point you were making when you said that while we were watching it was that you didn't like that they were doing that stuff in a story that didn't seem to require it, and I was just waiting for the shoe to drop where they did something like really vile or sexual that you can't get away with on TV, and there it was.
Yeah, the violence didn't bother me that much. It's just the crassness of the language with this aesthetic and what is sometimes pretending to be a tribute to the animated series. I don't need that language. One of the things that makes the animated series so impressive is how adult and sophisticated they were able to be
within the boundary. Yeah.
Within the boundaries. This doesn't have those boundaries, and I don't need it. I don't need Harley Quinn swearing like a PG-13 sailor, and she won't stop. It's unnecessary.
And even still, they censor themselves in places, and because we've gone as far as we've gone, it feels weird. It's like you might as well just go ahead and go there. I don't like that we were playing it as sort of ambiguous as to how far they went in the bedroom. Just tell us. I'm glad they didn't depict it. I mean, I guess that's good. Like that, okay, fine. Censor that. That's not even censorship. It's just I wouldn't want to see that.
Well, there's a point near the end where Poison Ivy almost drops an F-bomb, and by the time we got there, I was like, just do it.
Just do it.
Like, no, it's really weird how much they're like, they think they're being more subtle than they are. Like,
I'm not convinced of that.
Sometimes, I like the whole sex thing. Like they're like when he's like, yeah, you never made out with a supervillain or whatever, and I'm like, and then she immediately refers to it as like naughty fun time, and I'm like,
yeah.
Why are we pretending?
One said made out, one said this other thing, and then she keeps.
And it's very clearly not making out.
Yeah, and then
there's
she's
clothes
like,
on the floor.
Oh, you're like beholden. You think I'm beholden to you now because we did
and
this.
And that's not how he was acting. He was helping her into the car.
Yeah, so, and not because she's a girl, but because she can't get in the freaking car. She can't figure out how to get in it. And
yeah, he was kind of like, no, look, we make our cars
This is how we do it. Yeah, and that's kind of funny, I guess. Okay, so...
The doors don't open.
Here's the thing. You and I are going to have an argument here and there because we're both trying to read a movie that is unreadable. So, you might be absolutely right. Here's how I read it. I think what was, because all you can do is like try to read the minds of the people that made this, because they didn't make it for us. They made it for them, and in a bad way. You know what I mean? They didn't make. I don't feel like this was made for people who are like them, who might like this kind of thing. I feel like this was made for specifically the people who worked on this show and had certain fantasies and things that they could never bring to screen before. And it feels like they made it for about 16 people and nobody else. So here's the way I read the subtlety that isn't actually subtle. I feel like it's making fun of the fact that they used to have these boundaries put on them that they don't have anymore. And so they're not actually they don't even think they're being subtle. They're like winking at the audience going, remember back when we had to do that? When we had to say like ride my Harley, but we couldn't actually go any farther than that? You remember that? You got that kind of stuff? I'm surprised that line doesn't come up because they just love that line. But I think it was more. I mean, it's so self-parody, right?
Sometimes, and then they ask us to care.
I'm not even convinced of that. I think even in the moments where they ask us to care, they might not really be asking us to care. I think those scenes might even sort of be supposed to play for comedy. I'm not sure. Like, even when the doctor guy dies at the end, I don't know if I'm actually supposed to care or if this is a straight up comedy.
We were laughing at it, but I got the impression we were supposed to care.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm really not, and that's the problem with this, is that it's so tonally all over the place. I can't tell you if that's them thinking they're doing real drama, because the problem is, some of these, and they're not all Bruce Timm things, but some of these direct-to-video animated movies have had scenes like that don't play, where it's within an overall more serious movie with that kind of internal logic, and they just and it just plays melodramatically or sappy, right? The whole thing where she's crying at the end, the way they animate it. If there were a commentary on this, and I don't think there is, I would imagine Bruce Timm or Paul Dini laughing hysterically during that.
Well,
I mean, I feel like even a lot of the dramatic scenes are actually supposed to be comedic, and we're supposed to be laughing with them. But I don't know if I'm right about that. But that's how it watched to me.
No, the climax with the crying is clearly a gag. Because she's like, I'm gonna use my A-bomb, like, I'm gonna do the one thing you can't deal with. The one thing that will stop you. And she takes off her makeup, she starts crying, and then Poison Ivy starts crying.
The way she takes off her makeup is ridiculous, because then it would just smudge and come off all over the place, like while you're in a swamp. She just takes her gloves and does this, and it's off.
Well, and her domino mask is also makeup.
Yeah.
Which is dumb.
Yeah.
But, no, that's clearly, I think, supposed to be a joke.
Yeah.
But girls are emotional.
Yeah.
And if one of them starts crying, they all start crying.
Okay, so let me put this
That is what that scene is.
Before we go any farther, let me just ask you the question. This might be an elephant in the room. Can I ask you the question? Is this a sexist thing?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the thing.
And I can see why people would read it that way, but I'm asking you if you think it is that way.
I don't think it's sexist. I think it's kind of pervy. I think that this is the movie I would have expected these people to make when they were 15.
Yeah.
Not at 50.
It's like they're trying to put themselves back in Nostalgiaville, where it's like, you know, now we have
this
all
is the movie
toys.
This is what we would have made when we were
anything.
20 and making Batman the Animated Series if we could have done anything.
And can I tell you why it hurts my feelings? It means that without those limitations, we wouldn't have had that show.
No. It would have been a really sleazy show. And, I mean, like, there's always been a joke about Paul Dini and Bruce Timm that they've always been kind of pervy and kind of sleazy. Not to actual women, but, like, in their art. They don't have a problem taking their creations to, like, a sexual place. And I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
But if you're gonna do that, don't do it in what is pretending sometimes to be a tribute to your old thing. Make a new thing. You want to make your sleazy Harley Quinn movie, make your sleazy Harley Quinn movie. Make it look a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Make it its own thing. I think the most offensive part of this...
we should talk about that.
I think the most offensive part of this is the harkening back.
Yeah. This isn't the place to do that.
Now...
But the problem is it starts from that place. It's not like they had a script and they were like, let's just do it in that style. It starts from that place.
I'm not exactly the audience for the sleazy, kind of pervy Batman Harley Quinn movie. That's not I'm not exactly that audience, but there is an audience for that. They're 15-year-old boys, but there is an audience for that. And if you're gonna make that movie, go further. Like, that's the thing is, as sleazy as this movie is, it's still really tame.
Is that what it's supposed to be, though? Where it's like it's supposed to feel more sleazy because it's in the style of the wholesome cartoon you watched when you were a kid?
Maybe.
And I don't like that.
And that show wasn't that wholesome.
No, but I just wholesome.
Yeah.
You heard parents that wouldn't let their kids watch Power Rangers. Nobody. You've never heard anybody say that their parents wouldn't let them watch Batman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. And even in this aesthetic, if the point is supposed to be, look, when you were younger, you kind of thought these cartoons were hot, so now we're going to give you that, or we've always wanted to see that, so we're going to make it.
You almost have to go farther.
Yeah, go farther. Because this also won't appease that audience either.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think. I mean, not among that audience, but I don't think. No, like, if they were...
It doesn't feel like it's appeasing anybody's fantasies besides the guys that made it.
Yeah. No. If you want to see what that side of this movie is done right, go watch the Catwoman short on Batman Year One, where she's just in a strip club for half the movie, actually doing a striptease. Like, if you want to make that. But don't do this. Like, this still, to me, feels like there's still that thing they really want to make, but they couldn't even do that. And they felt like this was as far as they could go. Just make the thing you want to make if that's what you're going to do. Like, because here it's so weird mixed. Like, it almost feels like it's peeking out, like, this is what we really want to do.
Everything about this production is really confusing to me. We're communicating, what we're communicating is real askew, and we had a rated R direct-to-video movie a couple movies ago with Justice League Dark. They could have gone even farther if they'd wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. Like, if the idea was supposed to be, really adult, rated R animated series, you could have made that. Now, again, I'm not saying I want that, but this is way worse because there's nothing about the box or the way it's sold, or even, dare I say, the villain plot, the basic story that seems like it's more like sleazy for just adult men that grew up with that show. Actually on the box or in the advertising.
Nothing says but even, don't let your kids watch this.
But even worse than that, there's nothing about the actual meat of the story or anything about things characters do that matter for the overall story that shouldn't work in a G or PG thing. And that's the worst. So, like I said earlier, it's not like it's just a bunch of crass language and over-the-top violence with blood and stuff in a movie that has no scenes that are actually adult, but the adult scenes are shoved into a story that it doesn't fit for. Also,
it's a paint by numbers. Like this could have been an episode of the animated series. The overall plot. This could have been a Poison Ivy episode.
Yeah.
This plot could have been an episode of season 4. Like, absolutely. But it's everything within it. It's the pieces.
So, Harley Quinn, as we said earlier, has this really bizarre voice, and the few things that work about her and that might have been funny on the script fall really flat because of that choice of voice actor. I think she strikes me as professional. I think the performance she's giving is a good performance, and it's the wrong place for it.
Well, I mean, I think that voice she does is nails on chalkboard. Not what a normal voice sounds like.
I think it is too. I'm just saying that, like, she picked a voice, and I mean, you've heard voices from cartoon voiceover artists that are irritating, and they're supposed to be.
But they're playing irritating characters.
Yeah, and she played this like Harley Quinn's annoying, right? And that's and for whatever reason, the people that made this decided that's what they wanted. And Andrea Romano is still casting, and I don't know what
you would think she would show up with that voice, and everyone in the production crew.
I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. I might be wrong about that.
You would think that she would show up with that voice, and everyone in the production crew would just go, "Oh, we made a mistake."
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you already made a mistake. You didn't get...
but we saw that preview where they talked about how great it was.
Yeah. You didn't get Arlene Sorkin, and you didn't get Tara Strong, so you already made a mistake there. But then when you hear that voice, you have to immediately go, "Oh, no, what have we done?"
Yeah. And I mean, it's just... It's grating because you can tell that that's not the voice that was in anyone's heads when they wrote this script.
And it's this weird thing where, like... Even on a script level, even getting past the voice, most of this movie, Harley Quinn is intolerable.
Yeah.
And it feels like they're cashing in on the popularity of Harley Quinn. Like, well, she can do anything, and everyone will love her. Like, there are moments where she says things where, like, before she seduces Nightwing, she's like, "Look, I went straight." Moments before that, we were told she hasn't seen her parole officer. And, like, things like I don't feel bad for you. You're not actually doing it the right way. And this is throughout the entire movie where she's like a sad sack pity case that everything is her fault. Or a lot of things are her fault. She's a crazy person.
And I can't get a handle on her psychology, which is often a problem with Harley Quinn. But their Harley Quinn, being the first one, I didn't usually have that problem with.
Yeah, well, and I
still, at the end of the day, don't know if she's supposed to actually be a crazy person or not.
She seems like an airhead idiot at the very least.
Yeah.
In this movie, and she's not like that in the animated series. Whenever she takes the makeup off, she is a very different person. That's not here.
And it's layered, and there's something there's something to it.
No. The Harleen Quinzel in the episode where you get her backstory, the one where she takes the makeup off and she tricks Batman. That person doesn't live in an abandoned building, and, like, it's like they did the thing that people do with Batman, where it's like, there's just one guy, and Bruce Wayne's an act kind of a thing, where, right. Harley's just always Harley. Well, that's not the character they created. That's not the character they wrote, and that's not the character that I think is interesting.
And it's unfortunately been informed too much by the other things that have been done with it, and what the general public kind of expects for that character. They needed to go back and remember what they did, because these are the people that... That's one of the things that makes this kind of offensive to me. These are the people that created this character.
This should have been them coming in and going, "No, this is how she's supposed to be." And this is... I don't even think this is fully, like, embracing, like, the girl Deadpool thing that she's become in the comics, as much as it's just like, well, everyone loves her now, so she can do anything, and everyone will continue to love her. And There's nothing she can do that can push people away.
That's what I felt like it was. It was scene to scene. I don't know if I want to go all the way to say she's a different character scene to scene, but we're just kind of having her do. It's more about a cookie cutter framework to have her have jokey gag scenes, and nothing she does is funny. She has 1 or 2 lines I laughed at that are funny on the page, but it wasn't line delivery, and it wasn't because it was this character.
I think the most intolerable scene where again, I think I'm supposed to care, or I'm supposed to be with her because she's Harley Quinn, and everyone loves Harley Quinn, don't they? Is when she makes Batman stop the car, which Batman would not have done. She gets out of the car, tracks down a guy who apparently dumped her just before school prom, and then beats the crap out of him.
Yeah.
And then the second Batman puts her back in the car and is like, "We're going to go after Poison Ivy, and you will do nothing but tell us where she is." Which Batman goes back on because
she jumps through a skylight with them.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's choreographed right after.
But he like dresses her down for being a crazy person.
Yeah.
And she immediately acts like Batman's just like ruining her fun. You know, in like a speech that I think we're supposed to, on some level, be going with.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Batman is too stuffy.
Yeah, because
she just beat someone up for no reason. I mean, decades past reason.
It feels to me like it's going out of its way to make sure this isn't in any way whatsoever Batman's story or give him any real characterization, because it's a Harley Quinn. Like, how is Harley Quinn's name not first on the title? This is not at all a movie about those two coming to any kind of an understanding or appreciating each other more or anything. And
I mean, I think it is, but I don't think it's there.
There was an episode of animated series that did that.
Yep.
And that's not what this is.
Nope.
And then throwing Nightwing in the mix like that kind of confuses that whole issue.
Well, it's because Batman can't sleep with Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Harley Quinn. And we needed that scene in this movie.
Yeah. But like, you could have written him out after that. You still, it's a trio movie. Like, we've made her Batgirl in this, is what it is.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm not saying that for an adventure you couldn't make that work, but we didn't.
We didn't make anything work. Very, very little of the comedy actually plays. And
there's just so many scenes where cringeworthy isn't going far enough.
Can we talk about the bar?
Yeah. Yes, because the next thing I was going to mention is the end of the bar with the onomatopoeia words. Oh my god. I think it's that scene. Or is it that scene? Yeah, okay, yeah. So karaoke. And one of the things that makes this really awful, besides the fact that there's just no story being told during the scene until the very end, like, it goes on for a really long time. We hear her sing an entire song that's just dreadful.
Painful.
Yeah.
How did she record that? And they were like, yeah, because all the characters are playing like,
she's amazing,
yeah,
and she's this wonderful showman, and I think the idea is supposed to be that, like, she used to be with the Joker, and so, I mean, we don't talk about that hardly at all. There's one throwaway line where she's like, you know, that a-hole or whatever, and then we move on. That's not what she says, but then we move on. But like, I think maybe the idea is supposed to be that, you know, she's got showmanship, and that's maybe something that rubbed off on her, and if you had the right voice actor, and here's what's really bizarre. You had the two guys, I can't remember if in animated series they were henchmen or what they were, because all through that scene, there's a bunch of characters that most of them don't even get voices that are homages to characters, like Captain Clown's there.
Which again makes it feel like kind of a tribute-y thing.
Uh-huh, and that's part of what makes the scene so awful, is that you have that mixed with all this really, you know, awful, cringy stuff. But anyway, just before, like, one of the things that makes her singing so cringeworthy and so awful is you have a really good performance right before it, with Rob Paulsen singing two lines layered on top of each other, and he's singing both of the twins, and I didn't even know he could sing, and it's great. And it's kind of fun that they use real songs, although, like I said while we were watching it, the animated series was always this kind of out-of-time thing, so I always feel weird with pop culture references. Like, even It's a Wonderful Life, I was never really sure I liked being brought up, because it's kind of an alternate version of our world with mixed time periods. But regardless of that, usually these things don't actually pay for licensure for songs, so I thought it was kind of cool that they did that. And then just after that, and you have to listen to the entire song.
So she talks to this plant guy, And she says, he's going to give us the information, but I have to do him a favor. And she gets up and sings an entire song, which is one of the most painful experiences of my existence. It's embarrassing. I want to say again, embarrassing. If I worked at Warner Bros. Animation and they turned this movie into me, I would say, look, I know we spent $6 on this. We will not release this. This is unacceptable work.
Yeah.
And then there's a fight. Do you want to talk about the fight? Do you want to talk about the onomatopoeias? Well, actually, let me get to my complaint about the onomatopoeias before we get to the real problem with the onomatopoeias.
Sure.
If you are doing a tribute to a very specific Batman, do not make constant references to other versions of that character. I don't need Killing Joke lines. I don't need onomatopoeias. I don't need Catwoman thugs from the '60s show. If you're paying tribute,
especially because we just did an Adam West movie last year,
and we did the onomatopoeia gag way better.
Yeah.
Which is another thing in this movie. It's like, we just did this, but better.
Fracture is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in a Batman thing.
If you're paying tribute to a specific version of a character, you don't throw it. It'd be like if we came back and we're doing a tribute to the '90s Spider-Man show, and let's say it was good, let's say it was spot on, let's say it wasn't good, let's say it was a spot on reenactment of that show.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you start throwing in like stuff from the '60s show and from Amazing Friends. Like, no, you're not paying tribute to those. You're paying tribute to this. I don't need all this other Batman stuff, especially because I'm getting it in your other films.
Yeah.
I just had '60s Batman. It was really good.
Yeah, and it also just feels like really obvious, easy, low-hanging fruit. Like one of those guys did the Batusi, and it was one of the cat guys, and you're just like, yeah, okay, like we parody that and make fun of it all the time. It's the most obvious thing. There's not a person, I don't want to say there's almost not a person alive that would watch this at this point, especially because '60s Batman got popular again, or at least they started making a lot of merchandise for it, that is not familiar with those things. You're not impressing anybody.
And in universe, what's that guy doing?
You're kind of screaming self-parody with that stuff.
In universe, what is that guy doing? Because this Batman has never done the Batusi. And what's he doing? What is he referencing?
Never had thugs even, because she wasn't like, Again, they could just be wearing that. I'm not actually making that case. It just Don't break your glasses.
No.
That'd be bad.
No. Originally I was working at the table. And I was like, oh no, I might break my glasses.
So then they do.
Are you gonna say it?
No, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I might. No, I'm not. Do
you want me to say it?
Yeah.
Or is it not for the channel thing?
I don't know. It's not a big deal. I'm just no. Like we can say it. I'm just trying to decide if I even want to do give it the distinction of saying it.
Well, because it's so bad.
It's so bad.
Okay, so we go outside the bar. There's a fight. We go outside the bar.
Let me say what I was going to say real quick.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
The thing about before we even get to that, because my main complaint is grammatical.
Yeah.
But the onomatopoeia words, even the way they come up on the screen, first of all, isn't even authentic to '60s Batman, and it feels like what a high school or college kid that barely knows anything about Batman would do with it.
I mean, this whole thing feels like this. If you told me this is a fan film, I'd be like, well, I guess it's great that they finished that project.
That's exactly right.
That is the highest marks I would give it if it was a fan film. Well, it's really impressive they finished it.
Anyway,
and they kept everything on model.
I wanted to make that point.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So a fight breaks out in the bar, and we pull back, and we have like a bam and a pow, and then ow my balls.
That's not how onomatopoeia works. Those are sound effects words. They're not what people are saying. They're not speech balloons.
No, if you wanted to...
And here's the thing. With respect to anyone watching, because again, I never want to call people out. I can't imagine anybody laughing at that. I mean, I certainly didn't.
Especially if you'd watched Return of the Cape Crusaders, where you've already seen that gag done 1,000 times better.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if you've somehow or rather never seen anybody ever... Somehow, you've never seen anybody ever make fun of the sound effects words in '60s Batman, and that was the first time.
I mean, there's other...
And it's not just that it's lewd, like, it's just...
I mean, that's a problem.
Yeah, no, it is.
But, like, spend 2 more seconds and just make an onomatopoeia about that. Like, it's not that hard.
It would almost be better if somebody yelled that, and I mean, I still woun't like that, but...
No, but that would have worked better. And with line delivery, I could have chuckled.
Yeah, it's so immature.
Yeah. That's the entire movie.
Yeah.
No, and it's... At that point, you're like, oh, you're not even making a Batman movie. You're making a Harley Quinn movie, whatever weird, twisted version of Harley Quinn this is, because this isn't even female Deadpool Harley Quinn. Like, this is something else. And... you're making this movie. You know what? No, just make the Harley Quinn movie and make it as raunchy and gross as you want it to be.
If you did that, at the very least, I mean, here's the thing. I feel like this is really gratuitous fantasy wish fulfillment stuff that, for the most part, really ought to only appeal to a really immature male base. Harley Quinn is really popular amongst a lot of women, and I don't, and I feel like this would offend a lot of women, and that's why I asked if it was sexist, because I feel like if I'm a woman, I'm offended by this character, or at the very least, if she's supposed to be endearing and you're supposed to kind of like look up to her at the end, I'm not buying that.
Yeah. No. If this movie got to the end and it was like, okay, Harley, you're going back to prison because you're a monster and no one likes you, fine.
But that's not what happens. She saves the day, and then Batman and Nightwing kiss her on the cheek simultaneously.
Like a Looney Tunes cartoon. And like, even does the...
What are we doing?
And that wasn't the tone of the rest of the movie. If this whole movie had been like a weird, sexy Looney Tunes cartoon, I wouldn't have blinked twice at that ending.
No. And that's what it should have been, clearly. Because there are bits where it feels like, and like the ow my balls thing is also that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sort of. It's just, what is the internal logic of this movie?
I don't know. Because sometimes it feels like...
If the internal logic was it doesn't have internal logic, like a cartoon, fine, but...
Yeah, like the opening of this movie.
But right, but then after that, he's talking about the opening titles, but then after that, we have 15 straight minutes of, I'm taking this relatively seriously. This is just a movie. Mm-hmm. It's somewhat comedic, but here's the thing. Is part of it just, like I want to be fair to the folks making this, is part of it just, Harley Quinn is in the title and one of the central protagonists, so her worldview and perspective is going to affect the tone of it, and they just take that way too far? Is that all that's happening?
I mean, maybe, but that's not the worldview and perspective of the character from the animated series.
Yeah.
Again, it's someone else.
Someone else.
Yeah. This isn't.
No, she's a Frankenstein monster. Like.
Yeah. This is not what the world looks like through the animated series Harley Quinn's eyes.
Because you're absolutely right when you say that she's like really entitled and whiny, because she acts like the world has given her a raw deal, and like when she's talking about how she can't get a job, when Nightwing has that line, and I mean they address it later, but it's weird when he has that line where he's like, well, why don't you try to get a job in your profession? Like, nobody would hire her, But like, if I really bought then that she was actually really going straight, I might feel a little bit bad about the fact that like she's this talented, intelligent person that can only get a waitressing job, and then we could have, because bear with me, I know that's not what she is in this, but that's kind of what she's supposed to be. So then we can do some discussion and commentary about in real life how hard it is for a felon to get out of prison. Like we want to rehabilitate felons, but then we don't want to. But then we're afraid of them, and we don't want to actually give them opportunities to turn their lives around and contribute. So like, if you're going to let somebody out of prison and then not let them contribute to society in any meaningful way, and I don't mean that like. It's demeaning to be a waitress. I just mean if there's stuff they were great at that would really benefit society and they're not allowed to do it again, well, that's bad. That's a problem. We could have talked about that. It would have been great if this was the movie where Harley Quinn really was trying to go straight, or was really doing that, and then her actual profession, her actual ability at being a therapist is how like Batman solves the case. Like that would have been really cool.
And how am I supposed to feel bad that she can't get a job when she's not even meeting with her parole officer. Like, she's not even doing the minimum effort to get, like...
And when the first thing she does in interacting with one of our heroes is ties him to a bed, like, I don't even trust that she's not...
Yeah.
Gonna go right back to crime at the end. And how many episodes of animated series did we do that were several in a row, even in season 2, where it was somebody's trying to go straight, and then at the end this is their nature, they can't help themselves.
Yeah.
So of course immediately you're expecting this to be that.
This character in this movie is lucky to have a job as a waitress. She's lucky anyone would employ her. It's insane that I'm supposed to feel bad for this person.
Yeah, because it's not like she's responsible. I don't expect her that she, like, shows up on time, or...
Yeah. Well, actually, the most restrained and responsible we ever see her in this movie is in that bar.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I kind of like, the idea that the only job she can get is to play herself.
Yeah.
In a sleazy kind of Hooters-esque superhero diner. Like, I kind of like that idea.
But with it, I don't know. I feel like it's funnier if she can't even get to play her.
Yeah, that would. Yeah.
Like,
it should be like she gets this movie, and I don't want to rewrite this movie, but it's so easy to do because there's not a movie here. Like what if this was a movie? It's a different movie. What if this was a movie that opened with her, like, leaving Arkham? Like, we see that happen, and she's we do a montage where she's trying to get jobs, and she's, like, moping and walking down the street, and it's raining on her. We do that whole thing. Like, you could have made us sort of care, especially if you make it really clear that she's really done with the supervillain lifestyle. Like, she's just done with it. Maybe even like have a flashback at the beginning or something where she's killed someone or something. Like, that's it for her. She's finished. But like, it's so much easier to write anything. I feel like anything one of us came up with is immediately. Would probably be immediately more appealing. I hesitate saying that. That's not fair.
And then, as we learned from the post-credits scene, her reward.
I just feel like we weren't really trying with this.
Her reward for not being able to get a job in her field is that she is a game show host.
Yeah.
You know what? That could have worked if the movie was about her discovering that she's a showman.
Yeah.
And if it was about her, like, realizing, like, you know what? I really messed up my career as a doctor. No one's ever going to take me because I'm a crazy person, or people think I'm a crazy person. So, I do have this knack for, like, commanding a crowd, like something. That.
Well, the fact that they did it with mental health, like, it's supposed to be, like, funny in a disturbing way, and I found it, like, kind of almost cynical.
And it's also like 4 minutes long.
Yeah.
No, it's terrible.
But did that kind of bug you? Where it's like we're taking advantage of people that like really need help, and it's like, if you can get through this obstacle course and have people laugh at your own expense.
No, because that seems like, I mean, it did bother me because it seems like something a supervillain would do.
Yeah.
Like, that seems like something the Joker would do because it's funny.
When I get to the end, I feel like it's supposed to be like look, this character that is kind of quirky and messed up, but she did the right thing at the end, so she gets rewarded this way. Like, there's something a little bit cynical about that to me.
Yeah.
Unless I'm reading the movie wrong, because honestly, I feel like anything I say about this is liable to be really counter to whatever Bruce Timm and these guys actually thought they were making. I feel like this is really confused and just not communicating well. Like, I don't know what they thought they made. Is it one big joke or isn't it? Like, I'm not sure.
I'm excited for the rewind.
I'm not. Yeah, someday I have to review this. It's gonna be wild.
I don't. I just have to watch it, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
This is the last one, right? This is the last rewind.
It's just back. Yes. When I'm on my deathbed. Okay, finally, hand me Batman Harley Quinn.
This is hands down the worst animated film they have ever made.
And there are a lot of contenders for that, but it's just because I'm so confused by it, and it hurt my feelings because it was this aesthetic and
this team.
I don't want to be worked up about this. I wasn't even looking forward to but I know I say this a lot when I watch things I really dislike, but it wasted my time,
and
I don't want this to be the last time, because because like you realize when you see a thing like this, it's like when you have a really bad TV movie with like reunion movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like that thing where you're like, well, I don't want that to be the last thing that I don't want that taste in my mouth for it to be the last thing I ever see in this aesthetic.
Yeah. You know what would have helped this movie immensely? If they got Paul Dini to write it.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that created the character.
Yeah.
If he was involved at all. Because his name's nowhere in the credits except for created by...
It's really weird that he wasn't involved with this. And I don't know why that is, because he works on Justice League Action.
Which makes me wonder if maybe... maybe they couldn't get Arlene Sorkin because they're friends. Like maybe the fact that Paul Dini was working. I'm reading into that way much, but
yeah, who knows?
There is no logical answer for Arlene Sorkin or Tara Strong not being.
Well, and here's because once again, I'm not disliking the voice because it's not somebody that's voiced her before or the original. I'm not being a purist on this. It's that it just doesn't match this. You could find another voice that isn't even exactly like one of those. And of course, those are two very different performances too. That still fits this material, or that fits the lines that are coming out of her mouth. And that's not doing like this really weird, like super heightened like Brooklyn accent or whatever.
Yeah, no, like this would be a fine.
They
voice.
all live in Gotham. How'd she even get that accent? Like
this would be well, I mean, Arlene Sorkin always had that too, but that was just her natural accent. This would be a fine voice for a character that no one is supposed to like ever at all. If she was Princess's voice on Powerpuff Girls, fine.
Yeah.
The fact I'm supposed to care, or I think I'm supposed to care. Or at the very least, even though I'm not supposed to like literally emotionally care,
yeah,
I'm supposed to be.
You're supposed to be entertained by things she's doing. Charmed, yeah, exactly.
If this actress is ever let to play Harley Quinn again, I don't even know. Like I don't even know. I won't review that movie. If they ever let her back to play this character,
yeah, you will. We just said we would do all of these.
Unless
they come out.
Unless this woman is allowed back.
That's just one caveat.
It's my one.
That's amazing. That's the one thing.
Because if they have any self-respect, they will never let.
But that's not even the worst thing about this.
No, it's not. But it's really bad, and she should never be allowed to voice Harley Quinn ever again.
This kind of thing, and I think if I'm getting worked up about this at all, it's again wasting my time. But it's because I had that moment where I was like, maybe this won't be as bad as everybody said it was.
Yeah, maybe it's just that one fart joke everyone complained about.
And then they're like, well, we know Cap's going to hate this, so we blew it out of proportion. No, folks did not blow this out of proportion. I mean, that scene didn't go as long as folks told us it did, but it might as well have.
How did that even get written? Again, 15-year-old boys.
Yeah.
No, it's... No, what makes...
Are more sophisticated than that,
what makes this...
Is where he was going to go. He interrupted himself.
What makes this so frustrating, what makes it so... Because I don't care. I don't care about Harley Quinn. Like, if it was a bad Harley Quinn movie, fine, whatever. No, what makes it so frustrating is...
It's a tribute to that show.
It's a tribute to that show and the stuff that works. Because I don't love the aesthetic as much as you do, but I don't hate it. It's not bad. It's just not exactly what it was before. That's my biggest complaint, is it's not exactly what it was before.
I still don't know why it has to be.
Enough of it is right on certain levels that the fact that it's the 5% that they got right that makes the other 95% infuriating.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm not even looking at this and going like, oh, there was so much potential here, and that's why it's bad, because they didn't fulfill its potential. There's potential in the Harley Quinn's going to finally be a superhero story, but you know what? Injustice 2 just did it, and it's better there. And that's not great, but it's better there.
This is really bad. Don't watch it.
Yeah, it was.
This should come with a warning. It should come with a warning that tells you, by the way, if you have any standards, don't watch this movie. Just don't watch it.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously the people that made it probably think it's, are probably happy with what they made.
I mean, we didn't watch any special features. It'll break my heart to see Bruce Timm talk about how much he loves this movie.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe you can give us some insight into what he thought he was making. And again, I don't think this was for us. That's the big thing. I don't think it's for anybody except for the people that made it.
Yeah, and we did watch that preview documentary thing that they did, and the way they're selling it there really does sound like they're doing a tribute to the animated series. They're going back to the animated series. They're doing another story with Batman and Harley in that vein.
Yeah. And I know you're not a big Harley Quinn fan, but I think that could have been fine. I think you could have done a movie about them.
It's the only time I think she works.
Yeah.
I like her in the animated series because the only time I think she makes sense. My issue pre Girl Deadpool is, how can she still be, because she's the exact same character as the animated series, that character cannot exist with Killing Joke Joker.
You know what,
that's always been my issue with Harley Quinn.
I just thought of it. You know what I would have done with it? Again, I don't mean to rewrite this movie. I'm not saying that this movie is bad because this isn't what they did. I just thought of this idea. But again, so many other things you could have done with the basic premise. Harley Quinn can't get a job, so she keeps following Batman around and insists on being his new sidekick. That's what it like.
Yeah. Yeah.
She just won't leave him alone. This will be my job now. And
Yeah.
and wouldn't it be really funny if she tried to get Batman to pay her? Like there's so many things you could do.
Yep.
But we were more interested in mature humor, I guess. That thing with her seducing Nightwing was as hard for me to look at, and like we don't even see anything happen. It was as hard for me to look at as the Batman and Batgirl on the roof thing in Killing Joke. For different reasons, but it was just this thing of like I never ever thought we'd go there.
No, and at
those places.
At
and
least
I think that's what's supposed to be novel about it. Is look, we're doing things that you could never do before. Yeah, but just because you haven't done it doesn't mean it's a good idea. And I don't know that this is a situation where my anything you can make anything work rule, applies.
Well,
but
at least
Batman and Batgirl, having sex on a roof, like you could have maybe in some situation.
At least in that, I know what they're trying
work.
to do, and I understand they're trying to do like a more psychologically complex thing. It didn't work. They didn't make it work. The beginning, that Batgirl story, I think you could make work.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can make this work.
I question it. Yeah.
It's really bad. Like, I think this is hands down the worst thing that they've ever made. Like, going back to the the beginning of Batman series, everything they have ever done, this is the worst thing they've ever made. This is worse than There's a Batman in My Basement.
Well, I mean, it was harder to watch than that anyway. I mean, I don't like...
Oh, it's also longer.
I don't like to make those kind of blanket statements, and it's weird to compare a feature-length film to a single episode.
I know.
You're right. I know you're doing that.
Tim's career.
He's saying that because he hates this. I don't like to make those kind of statements myself, but this is going to be one of the things that that I least want to review in the Rewind format. I mean, that's going to be deathbed. Anyway,
Bugs Bunny said it best. For shame. For shame.
Everybody, thanks as always for watching. Sure appreciate it. If you saw this, leave your comments. Let us know what you thought about it. Did it hurt your feelings? Did you find it offensive? Was it as difficult to get through for you as it was us, or did you like it okay, and why? Let us know. And in the meantime, we'll see you again with lots more videos here on Geekvolution. I am Captain Logan,
and I'm Eric.
See you next time.